Hello, I'm Sarah and I'm back from holidays and I'm trying to do my labor and delivery story. If you have followed me for a while, you might know that my labor and delivery was more than 2 years ago. The reason why I'm doing it now is because before going on holidays I asked you whether you have any questions for me. And a very nice lady called Inma said she would like to know more about my labor and delivery story. I must warn you that it's a labor and delivery story and some things I say are TMI. And also I must warn you that this might not be suitable for a male audience. So my pregnancy was my first pregnancy and all went like normal as it is expected. My last doctor's appointment was at 37 weeks. He did a scan and he measured the weight of the baby and he said she measures roughly about 2.5 kilos, which is about 5 pounds more. And he said she sat down, everything was fine, and I wasn't dilated at all. When I was 1 day shy of turning 38 weeks, I woke up at 4 a.m. with a kind of a strange feeling, the feeling that I was wet or something. I was dry to the touch, but when I went to the toilet, everything looked fine, except when I stood up, something watery was dripping along my legs. I had heard that some women in the late pregnancy stages, they might kind of lose some pee, they cannot hold very well the pee, so I wasn't sure, I couldn't say for sure that was my water. So I decided to return back to sleep. Sure enough, after 5-10 minutes I had again the same feeling, so I went to the toilet. And while I was sitting there, a lot of liquid came out of me, so it couldn't have been pee. And also when I wiped, I saw a little bit of blood and a little bit of mucus. So by that time I was sure that was my water broke. The water was transparent. My husband was like very calm and helpful. I've seen lots of movies that the male part goes like crazy. No, everything was okay. I had a shower and we closed the bags. Since the hospital is closed, it's close to our house, so we went slowly. After the admission, the first thing they did, they put a monitor on my belly to monitor the baby. They said they will have to confirm that it was actually my water had broken. But when I was lying, more water came out. So the midwife who was seeing me at that time, she made me change into these huge pads. I have heard many women saying that these are very uncomfortable, but they're very absorbent, and for me that was the best thing because I did not have to worry about water coming out. The baby was doing fine. They ask you for urine tests, some kind of, I don't know if they take blood tests. It's just to check your general health status and to check for infections. And finally I was put in a normal room. It's not a labor and delivery room. And I was left there to do what I wanted. They said you can have walks or anything. You can do whatever. We decided to have a long walk. From 4 a.m. when my water broke until 12 p.m. Until 12 midday, nothing. I had contractions, but they were not strong or anything like that. I could feel them, but I could walk, I could do many things, and they were not very close together. Midday I had lunch, everything was fine, I had no pain. At around 3 p.m. I started feeling the contractions. I could feel that they are strong and I had to concentrate. By that time I was very little dilated. 1, 2, I don't remember. From 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. the actual intensity of pain became very, very strong. And also, if before the contractions were coming, like the pain from contractions I was feeling it every 10 minutes. It's starting being like very close together. At 6 p.m. they checked me again and they said you are 3 centimeters dilated and we can give you the epidural if you want to. I had my birth plan was to have an epidural to avoid episiotomy if possible, to nurse and to have a skin-to-skin contact. So they told me I could have epidural. I decided to go to be transferred to a labor and delivery room. In the labor and delivery room, I told there was another midwife and I told her that I wanted to wait a little bit for the epidural. So I decided to go in the bathtub. So if my pain before entering the bathtub was 10, when I entered the bathtub, the pain went down to 8, and I was feeling better and more confident. However, there was still pain, and my contractions were the same. They were very close together, and I did not have there was no resting in between. So I could feel coming. It would release me a little bit, and I could feel it coming again. But even when the pain was lower, there was still pain. At 8 p.m. I decided I couldn't take it anymore, and I really, really wanted the epidural. The nice thing is in Switzerland is that, or at least in this hospital, is that you are guaranteed that within half an hour from the moment you ask the epidural, within the half an hour the anesthetist will come to put the epidural in. So I asked for it, and they asked me to get out the bath, and again, if the pain was now 10, when I went out was 12. Anesthetist came I think fairly soon, but there is a preparation time when they have to get the epidural in that took what I felt it took a lot of time. The problem was that I was very much in pain and I couldn't, you are asked not to move, and that made me feel like very restrained. And it's not the bad thing is not the needle going in, I think, but it's this feeling of kind of you cannot move. When the needle was going in, my leg went high up, and it's like my husband was, "Boy, you are moving. You are not supposed to." But that was something he touched or something he did that made my leg go like that. And then the medicine took over, and I remember thinking, yes, epidural shock, because I had heard it from women on YouTube. So the epidural, maybe I had it at around 9 p.m. at the end when it took effect and everything. I forgot to mention that at 8 p.m. when I went out of the bathtub, they checked me again, and again they said I was only 3 centimeters dilated, so that was a bit scary, but I couldn't take it anymore, so I went for the epidural. After the epidural, I could rest a little bit. I slept a little bit, but at around 10, 1 hour later, I started feeling pain again. The nurse started turning me from one side to one side. At 8 p.m. I was 3 centimeters still. At 12 a.m. I was fully dilated, and they said you are 10, but you cannot push because the baby is high. I was the pain, it started from one side wearing off, and then I started feeling also the other side. And when this was happening, the midwife said, you know, if you want to, I can call the anesthetist again, because she could see that it was wearing off. And for some reason, the idea that he might do something that will restrain me again, as it was the case previously, I said, no, I don't want the anesthetist again. But that was like a bad judgment on me at that moment, because later I could feel all, I think I felt all the pain. I think the epidural wore off completely, because the amount of pain I was in later on. I was in full pain. I could feel both sides of my body, and I had pain coming from my stomach and going down towards my belly and my back, and then I would feel like this urge to push, and I was saying, don't. That was very hard to do. At some point, they called the doctor, maybe at 1 a.m. And at that point, I was totally out of my, like, almost unconscious, like out of body experience or whatever. Everything I was doing, it was more my body than myself. I have a blurry memory of this stage of my labor and delivery. I just remember that I wanted water, like glass after glass of water, and my husband was doing this kind of job. And I see in one moment, I kind of looking at him, and I see him like, if I was in extreme physical pain, he was in extreme emotional pain. So I had to say, look, Stefan's gonna be okay. And that was like a turning point when I recollected myself. I think he gave me like this, seeing him like this gave me this push to be stronger. All the time that I had the epidural, I was staying either on one side or on the other side. Originally, I had thought to use the gravity and to kind of stay in a semi-standing position, but I forgot all about it when I was in pain. So anyway, when the midwife asked me whether I want to stay again in that same position on the side and push on the side, I remember saying, whatever, I just want this to be over. So they put you something to hold your other, so I was lying on my right side, they put something to hold your left leg up, and you push, just staying on your side. I don't know what are the advantages of laboring in one side, but I remember the midwife thinking that that's a good thing for me because of the position of the baby. When the doctor came, I started pushing, but there was a feeling that nothing was progressing at that time. They had mentioned that every time I was pushing, the heart rate of the baby would go a little bit down. And they mentioned this only once, not to worry me, I guess, but I could see that they were like worried between each other. At some point they told me that if I wanted, I could touch the head of the baby. And at first I said no, but then like just a second after, I said yes, I wanna reach for the baby. And so I did, and I felt hair. She said, "Oh, she has black hair," and that like gave me even more courage. And I remember I was pushing, and at that point I felt, even before the baby crawled, I was feeling this kind of ring of fire. It's like you have the extreme pain plus the extreme burning sensation around your intimate area, and doctor told me, you are gonna feel pain now, but you have to push against it. And I remember the last 3-4 pushes after I felt the head, they were like very, very, very loud ones, and I felt you feel tearing, basically. You feel that sensation of you're tearing, and it's painful. But with this push, like very strong, energetic pushes, the head came out, and then the body, and they put the baby on my chest, and that was the most beautiful experience of my life. She wasn't. I felt that she wasn't crying at the beginning. I did not hear her cry, but they say it's okay, and my husband says she cried actually, but for some reason I did not hear her. She was a small baby, around 3 kilos, but she was long, 40 centimeters. Her Apgar score was 10, so she was mobile, breathing, perfect color, things like that. They had her latch on my breast, and we had a lot of time together from that moment on. I don't remember giving the placenta coming out. I don't remember it, and I don't remember a lot of the medical procedures that were done afterwards. All I can remember is Emilia, my daughter Emilia, on top of my chest, and the kind of feeling. There's no feeling I can describe. It's like a happiness feeling. I had almost everything I wanted. I just the pain part I had not predicted to be that strong. Overall was a positive experience. I had a positive hospital birth. This was what I remember most of my labor and delivery. I hope you liked it, and if you're new to my channel, please take your time and consider subscribing. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. On va pas laisser les pieds bleus. Oui, mademoiselle.